The new Viltrox 20mm f1.8 lens for Sony full-frame cameras. Is it worth the $400 or is it even more worth? Let's find out in this video. Hello and welcome back here to another video on my channel. At my channel you will find Sony E-mount lens reviews just like this of the new 20mm f1.8 full frame manual only lens from Viltrox. I got this lens for free from Viltrox, but also if I got it for free I will tell you both the positive as well as the negative aspects of this lens. But I have to say there aren't as many negative aspects. So yeah, let's start the review by unbox this lens. So here is the box. It's very big and heavy for a lens, but it is a full frame lens, and here you can read it, 20mm f1.8 for Sony E-mount. It is a full frame manual focus prime lens. So yeah, here you have a picture of the lens. On this side is nothing. On this side the same information as on the other side, and here again nothing. Let's put it out of the box. I cut the sealings earlier, that now the unboxing is a bit faster, but it's very hard and to get it out of the box. So, finally got it. At first we have a nice microfiber pouch for the lens. It's not very thick, but it's okay, and it's nice. Viltrox on the front, so it's nice to have. A silica back. Here you have the warranty card, again with some paperwork. Yeah, we could put this by the side. We don't really need it. Here's some package material, and finally here we have the lens. And in addition to the lens, at first we have a little ring with this lens. And this is the filter adapter. Because the lens has a bulbed front element, you can't attach filters directly on the lens, so you need to carry this adapter if you want to attach filters on the front. So here is the lens itself. It is very nice, big, have some weight to it because it's a fully metal build, and yeah, like I said, fully manual lens, that's why no electronic connections. So here is the front. The lens hood is already mounted on the lens. If I take it off, the lens hood is also metal like the ring for the filter, and you could see now that the front element stands out of the lens, so you need this adapter if you want to attach filters. So far to the unboxing. So here's the lens, and at first, yeah, my first impression of the lens was very good. The lens, also the lens hood and this filter adapter are built fully out of metal. The lens mount is out of metal, so it's very nice, and it's heavy because it's a big lens and fully out of metal, so it have to be heavy. Not too heavy, but on my small Sony a6000 the camera gets a bit front heavy, but I expected this because of the size of this lens. And another word about the camera. This lens is made for full frame cameras. I don't own one of these actually, so I have to test it on my Sony a6000, but I will test it again if I own a full frame model. This should be within the middle of the year 2019. But also if my camera has an APS-C sized sensor, this test is useful because the full frame lens has to be better for an APS-C sized sensor as with an equivalent full frame sensor with the same megapixels. Because this lens is fully manual, you have two rings, one in the front for the aperture and one in the back for focusing. In my opinion, both rings are perfect in resistance. The aperture ring is a bit more resistant, but the focus ring is very buttery smooth, and I really like to work with this lens. The aperture goes all the way from 1.8 to 16. The focus goes from 0.25 of a meter all the way till infinity. The aperture ring is clickless, so this should be useful for filmmakers. The focusing is very nice. Especially in closer distances, it is a very nice working with this lens, so I really love it. Only if you go to infinity, it's a bit harder, and I wished I had a bit more room, but this could be up to my camera because it's an APS-C sized sensor, or because it was very cold when I tested this lens outside. So maybe one of these, but I wish I had tiny bit more room at the infinity point to get infinity always right. But within closer distances or middle distances, the working with this lens is really nice. The lens should be some kind of water resistant, but I have one major problem with this. The mount has no gasket. So also if the lens really is weather sealed, you should not take it out in the rain, because water could come inside the camera over the mount. So I wished this lens has a gasket, then maybe it'd be very nice and also weather sealed. But so it's a lens for nice weather. So all in all, I really love to working with this lens. The optic is nice, the lens itself looks really nice. Little red square here. It's really nice to looking at this lens, but how is the image quality? This is the most important part of the review. And so I want to show you some sample pictures at first, that you can take your own decision. Is this lens good or is it not good? And then I will say something about my experience with this lens. Most of the images are unattached JPEGs. Some of them I edit slightly in Lightroom, but not heavy editing. And the images which were taken at darker places were taken with about an ISO of 1200. And like I said, all pictures are taken at the Sony Alpha 6000. What was your opinion about the images? Is the lens good? Isn't it? Let me know down in the comments. At this point I want to remember again, I took pictures with the Sony Alpha 6000, so it's an APS-C size camera with a full frame lens, so you have to expect a bit lower image quality, a bit less sharpness and something like that. But in my opinion, this lens was really good also on an APS-C sized sensor. The sharpness in the middle, also at f1.8, is very good. Yeah, if the distance gets bigger, the image quality get a bit more, not worse, but kind of worse. But I think this could be up to my camera. The image quality in the center is sharp also at f1.8, but the most sharpness you will get at about f4 to f5.6. Even at f1.8 there's no vignetting visible, and this lens handles chromatic aberrations and lens flares really well. Also, if this lens is a 20mm lens, there is no barrel distortion visible by using it. The bokeh is very nice and smooth in the center, also very nice and circular, and also to the edges, really nice. But you have to consider it is a 20mm lens on an APS-C size sensor, so you couldn't expect as much as on a full frame equivalent. All in all, I'm very happy with this lens, and I only have to criticize one thing, and this is weather sealing. If you have a lens which is weather sealed all the way, why you don't put a gasket on the mount? So if the lens is really weather sealed and it have a gasket, it would be the perfect lens for outdoor photographers with the Sony E-mount full frame cameras. But in this case, it is a nice lens on all purpose. But this tiny bit is a backdrop, but you have to consider that this lens only cost about 430 bucks, which isn't as much as normal Sony lenses, like for example the new 24mm. It cost about 1.3 thousand bucks, I think, so triple the price, and here you get also very nice image quality, a nice open aperture for astrophotography or something like that. It's fully manual, yes, and yeah, the weather sealing isn't as good, but all in all I really love this lens, and in my opinion you could buy this lens definitely if you are on a budget and want a fast wide-angle prime lens for your Sony E-mount full frame camera. If you have an APS-C size sensor, maybe stick with the 12mm f2.0 from Rokinon. It's equivalent to this lens on APS-C, and it's really a nice lens. So like I said earlier, if I got my full frame camera, I will test this lens on the full frame equivalent, and then you get another video by that. But for now I only have my A6000, so I only could test it there. So what's your opinion about this lens? Let me know down in the comments. Like this video if you like it, share that nobody missed out on this new Viltrox 20mm lens, and don't forget to subscribe that you don't miss out on further videos. So see you next time, bye bye.